We're heading west along the South Wales coast in search of a haven. Admiral Lord Nelson described Milford Haven as one of the finest natural harbours in the world. In its glory days, this was the largest deep-water port on the Atlantic. The historic defences that ring the estuary show how highly it was prized. The military have now abandoned these coastal forts. They've fallen into private hands, and they make an ideal spot for the security conscious. Talk about taking things to the limit. And look, VR 1891, Queen Victoria. She didn't like to be taken by surprise either. How'd you get in here? Classy doorbell. Hello, the house. George.
Hello, you must be Neil.
Yes.
Welcome to Chapel Bay Fort.
What a fantastic place. George Geear bought his coastal fort 14 years ago. Since then, he's devoted himself to restoring it to its former glory. And what about this brute, George? What is this fire?
There's an 18-ton, 10-inch rifled muzzle loader fired a pointed armour-piercing Palliser projectile, penetrate nearly a foot of armour plate at 1,000 yards, and this is the original gun put here in 1891.
If you fire something out the end of this, how far does it go?
About 3 or 4 miles at this sort of elevation. 12 degrees, I think the range is 3 miles.
George's restoration has been a labour of love. The previous residents were pigs. A pig farm, to be precise. Even in its heyday, the fort never actually saw action. But it was used to train artillerymen before they faced the Western Front in World War I.
Come in, Neil. This is the battery control station, which we've nearly finished restoring with help from the lottery. You're under 1.5 inches of steel armour plate. Up in here is where, if you like, this is the nerve centre for this battery. If you look,
so this is the brains of the whole operation?
This is the brains. From here you can see everywhere, from the entrance to the haven, all the way around past Dale. You could see all the way down the haven to the Cleddau Bridge and the dockyard.
So nothing passes this fort, but the men in here can see it?
Exactly, and they're in communication with the guns.
So how do you do the clever bit?
Right, well the clever bit comes to this instrument, which is a Watkin depression rangefinder. First appeared in 1873. It was so good, it was still in use in 1956 when Coast Artillery was closed down.
Let's see. So by working these controls together, you can keep the crosshairs on the waterline of the ship?
Absolutely, and to get a continuous readout of range.
Brilliant. I've got one, George.
Well, right now, your number 2 would pass the range to the chap sitting behind you, who by telephone and loudspeaker would relay the elevation and the azimuth to the guns. Coast Gunnery was the very peak of artillery of the period. The most intelligent men were posted to coast artillery batteries because it was so dependent on engineering and mathematics.
So this really was the brains of the outfit?
This was the white heat of military technology 100 years ago.
The trainee gunners would have had no shortage of ships passing through their sights. Over the years, fishermen, the Navy and even the odd whaler have made the most of Milford Haven's deep waters.